So I'm recording this on the 16th of December. We're in a waning moon phase currently. We're coming into land with a new moon in Sagittarius on the 20th of December, and it's aligned to the Galactic Centre. So I think the new moon's at 28 degrees. The Galactic Centre is currently at 27 degrees in the sign of Sagittarius. As usual, what I'm going to do in this video is explore the current planetary patterns that are showing, that are presenting right now. I call this our astrological or planetary weather. And then I'm going to be looking at the Sabian symbols for both the Galactic Centre and the new moon. And then I'm also going to be having a look at some of the messages that we might be getting around this new moon with the asteroids, trans-Neptunian objects, etc. Anything that is working specifically with this new moon. I always think by looking in this way, we get a really good feel for it. Now, I'm already starting to feel something coming in. And, you know, I don't know if you've already had the chance to have a look at my interview or chat with Trassa Grealish from Goddess Inspire. She's a galactic astrologer. She came and spoke with me about 3i Atlas. It just so happens that we've got quite a busy weekend. It's a bit of a portal of energy. We've got 3i Atlas closest to Earth on the 19th of December. That's so close, isn't it? Followed by the new moon connected to Galactic Centre. And then the very next day, we've got the winter solstice or summer solstice, according to where you are in the world. But we've got the December solstice. So we're at a real turning point. And so I think, you know, we're going through something at the moment. I really feel like we're going through something really quite specific. Lots of people are talking about awakening symptoms and things like that. Earlier this week, I noticed I had this kind of buzzing, different sounds and tones in my ear. I mean, that's not unusual, but I've had them a lot more and a different frequency. I also wondered if I'd left some of I've got what's known as a Spooky 2 Rife machine, and I've recorded some videos about it, and it works on your DNA. And I was wondering if I'd left a little bit of hair in one of my machines, because one of my friends and I, we've been using each other's machines and I felt this frequency in my thighs. I felt like I was being worked on with a frequency machine. I'm not, it turns out. So I've been feeling all sorts of things all over my body in this week, and it occurred to me, well, I wonder if this has got to do with the upcoming energies right now, because I think, you know, if you're attuned to these energies, all things are possible right now. You know, I know I do speak to a lot of people who are tuning into different things. There's definitely a lot of shifts going on. So anyway, I just thought I'd put it out there. You might think I'm a bit weirder and crazier, and yeah, I can live with that. Anyway, let's bring up my slides and have a little chat around what this new moon is really telling us. So this is the chart for the new moon, and you can see it's in the sign of Sagittarius at 28 degrees 25, and I've just kind of written a list of what I really see going on with it. So you've got the new moon in Sagittarius. You can see it here at 28 degrees. This is the chart for the actual new moon. It's set for a London time zone, so that's why it's got this Libran ascendant. You can see it's part of a stellium. So we've got Venus, we've got the moon, we've got the sun, and we've got Mars all together, very, very close by. We've also got this new moon stellium in a square to Saturn and Neptune. So when you add up all these squares, we've got 8 squares going on here. We've also got Mercury in a T-square with the nodes. And also Mercury's also in the sign of Sagittarius. So it really does look like a big old daisy chain of energy. We've also got an exact, it's an exact Jupiter and Chiron square, which has been going on for the last couple of months, and it's going to be persisting beyond that. And it just so happens on the day of the new moon as well, we've got a quincunx with Uranus. Now, the quincunxes are interesting because they're not an opposition. So, you know, with an opposition, you know that something is presenting in a very opposite way. So if this new moon's in Sagittarius, Uranus would be in Gemini, exactly opposite. It's not square. You know, that would be also kind of challenging, but it's not a trine, which we have, or a sextile, which are easy and quite, I guess, beneficial They allow the Uranus energy to flow in a really great way to your person. So we've got the sun and the moon in an uneasy kind of relationship with Neptune. With Uranus. It is doing something, but it's not hard and it's not easy. It's somewhere in between. It's interesting. It's making us think. And so Uranus, if we think about it, Uranus is a high consciousness energy. It's a higher harmonic of Mercury. So it's all about like a higher channeling of energy. So I think that's also quite significant. The other thing with quincunxes is they're not in the same element. So this is fire, this is earth, but they're also in a different quality, so we've got obviously Sagittarius is a mutable sign, and right now Uranus is in a fixed sign. So again, they really, really don't match in two different ways. So it's a very interesting kind of scenario. So let's have a look at what these might mean. So yeah, we've got the new moon in Sagittarius, which, the sign of Sagittarius is all about opening, truth. It's also fiery, so it is, full of enthusiasm and warmth and confidence. Now, with this new moon stellium with Mars and Venus, and you can see I've just identified them here with that little line, we've got a lot of energy that is expressing itself with this new moon. So you could say that Mars, which is all about doing and taking action, and the yang energy, the masculine energy, is also turning over a new leaf. In fact, it's newly in the sign of Capricorn, and he's really strong in the sign of Capricorn. So this new moon is helping to release a greater sense of the Mars yang energy. Similarly, we've got the divine feminine, we've got Venus, the other side. So you could also say that this new moon is helping us to release our divine feminine through the fire sign. In a way that's truthful, that's flexible, but it's bright, it's confident, it's filled with hope. And so, yeah, I get that this new moon is here to inspire us, to give us hope, to give us a sense of yielding and acceptance, which is very much a Venus theme. And it's also prompting us to take action in quite a dynamic, practical, determined way. So this is really strong from that perspective. Then when we also add in these squares to Saturn and Neptune, now these are the very last Saturn and Neptune squares, from these two in the sign of Pisces. The next time the Sun and Venus and Mars come along into a square with Saturn and Neptune, they're going to be in different signs. It'll be going across Aries and Capricorn. And it will be at the beginning of Aries and Capricorn. So it'll be a whole new conundrum associated with the creativity and spirituality of Neptune, and also the formality and quality of Saturn. So from that perspective, I think it's also kind of interesting because we're coming out of this Pisces fluidity where things are a little bit murky and difficult to completely understand, and it's coming into the full light of day. I mean, the sign of Aries is associated with the beginning of the story. It's like the dawning of the day. This is a brand new start. And if you think of if this was a clock, right now we are just a few minutes to midnight. Or we are literally just, at the last of dusk, just before dawn. So we are absolutely about to go into a new pattern. And so it's fascinating. We've got such a strong, potent new moon. It's really stunning. We've also got this Mercury T-square. So we've got the South Node here in the sign of Virgo. We've got the North Node here in the sign of Pisces. And we've got Mercury in the sign of Sagittarius. Now, Mercury absolutely wants to express himself in the sign of Sagittarius. He might do it with some humor and a long story with many twists and turns, and maybe a bit of enthusiasm that borders on bullshit. It's not going to be factual. It might, wander and drift a little bit this way or a little bit that way, teetering between the two. But wherever Sagittarius is in your chart, that side of you is opening up to express itself. Now, you know, Mercury is currently challenged by the South Node in Virgo. So everything to do with how he is communicating, health, being organized, having his life mapped out in the past. You know, he's done that. You know, he already understands a lot of his past in terms of his very rational life. And so you might recognize that you're done with rational living for now. You've understood it. You've understood it ad nauseum. And now it's time to allow yourself to come out of this rationality and head into where the North Node is, you know, in the sign of Pisces. I mean, Lord knows, with Saturn and Neptune in the sign of Pisces right at the end of this story, and also the transiting North Node here as well, it does feel like we're being really tasked to understand the nature of existence, like really to take it out of our personal stories, but to understand what's linking us all at a really cosmic level. And, you know, Mercury here, he's not finding that story very interesting, but or easy to explain, but he's got some curiosity, he's got some fun and confidence, and this is what we're being challenged to do. So I think whatever is taking place around the time of this new moon, it's important to consider how fluent we are in expressing what's going on for us. Now I haven't mentioned, but Lilith is coming over into the sign of Sagittarius on the 20th too. And so Lilith would be here. Now, she is absolutely a character about freeing up her voice. You know, in the sign of Scorpio, she's probably got very aware of her resentments and things where she's been suppressed and suppressed by powerful forces, and where she felt like there was nothing that she could do but suppress everything. Now she's going to come up and it's going to erupt in a whole flurry of truth, and flurry of, well, most likely a lot of anger will come up with that. A lot of pent up frustration is going to come up with that. And so Mercury is going to be very helpful here. You know, if you can express some of the rich text, the rich seam of, you know, maybe what has held you back in the past, I think if you can get to grips with that and turn it into some kind of living story, a living truth with humor and with humility, which is a very sort of Sagittarian, well, actually, humility is probably not something a lot of people would associate with Sagittarius, but the energy of being kind of transparent, that is a Sagittarian thing. So I think, you know, bringing everything into full transparency, with a sense of hope and optimism, is a really good shout for Mercury at the time of this new moon. Now, we've also got this square here between Jupiter and Chiron. You know, Jupiter is the ruler of all of these planets right now in Sagittarius. And so Jupiter's got quite a big role. You know, he's exalted in the sign of Cancer, so he's super strong, which makes this all the more strong for us to understand. And, you know, everything to do with our expansion that we've not been able to express, anywhere where we felt sick, and pained and insecure, because we couldn't expand. I really see that as an ongoing theme as well. So this new moon in, you know, in a conjunction with the Galactic Centre could have a real healing transformation attached to it. And like I said, this quincunx is definitely of interest because it's adding in the element of channeling and getting automatic messages, or just that really strong kind of lightning flash knowing. So this is very powerful. Now, if we have a look at the Sabian symbols, and, you know, I always recommend checking out Linda Hill's website, which is sabiansymbols.com. There are 360 symbols, all channeled over 100 years ago, and they've been reinterpreted by modern day astrologers, and Linda Hill's one of them. But she's got a brilliant website, and you can, you know, put in your degree, it gets rounded up and it brings up the message. Now, this is a funny one. I really love this. A fat boy mowing the lawn. Always makes me laugh when I read this one. This is the symbol for 28 degrees in the sign of Sagittarius. Like I say, it gets rounded up. You don't have to round it up. It automatically does that. It says this symbol speaks about keeping things neat, clean, tidy, and looking nice. The fat boy has all he needs. He's well fed, supposedly has a lot of toys, tools, machines, and hobbies, and he's out in the yard helping out. However, sometimes we're paying more attention to appearances than to the finer details of life, or the finer details or life, or those things that others can't see. Many people are fooled by appearances, but there is usually an unsettling feeling that everything is not quite right. Have people been asking and asking for chores to be done? Enlist the help of those around you to get through everything, even those who normally just sit around and do nothing. Superficial shows of work, maintenance, spare parts, doing odd jobs, coming to grips with mechanical tools, training youngsters to do chores. I need to do that with my kids. Spark plugs, petrol, cleaning up. So there is this theme associated with this degree from a Sabian symbol perspective, that there's more work that needs to be done. And that on the surface, things might look quite clean, quite tidy, quite perfect, but underneath there is something going on. And it's also hinting from, this is my interpretation of it, it's also implying that underneath our ease and our comfort, we've got bloated, we've got lazy, we've forgotten how to live, or we've forgotten maybe to survive. It reminds me of a film that I watched, a Joss Whedon film, based on the series Firefly. I think it was called Serenity. And in Serenity, there are a load of people that died. And I think it was because they got so calm and so satisfied that they couldn't survive. They had no will to survive, something like that. And maybe you can write in the comments and tell me how wrong I am and what actually happened. But, that's a story that occurs to me, that, when we forget about survival, or we get so self-satisfied, we forget about the work that needs to take place underneath, and we can also get completely replaced in the process. So that to me seems a bit like one of the themes that's going on to do with this new moon. But it's also in a conjunction with the Galactic Centre. And so let's have a look at that, because the Galactic Centre is a really, really strong place, and it's currently at 27 degrees in the sign of Sagittarius. So if you've got anything at 27 degrees, you'll be absolutely vibrating with this energy right now. But it's a splendidly built bridge, a heritage of unknown ages, still spans the beautiful and wildly primitive stream. I love this. This is where my son is, by the way. This symbol speaks of building bridges between places, people, and events in order to bring them together and to add cohesion to society. The bridge implies strength, dependability, and passage to other places. The bridge was built many years ago, and it presents the ability to be able to reach back into time, to reflect on what was important then and what's important now. Often these values are one and the same. Traditional ways of approaching things can lead to the best solutions. There is a linking of people, places, and things with clarity. Note, the Galactic Centre is moving on to this degree. We need to act as bridges in order to truly create. Enduring elements from past traditions, providing a link with the modern. Reverence for things of worth that stand as reminders of yesterday. Permanence. Getting in touch. So it's interesting with the getting in touch, because, like, I don't know if you're interested in 3i Atlas, but it's closest to Earth literally the day before, on the 19th. And it's unknown to us, like there's no real data about it. I recorded something with Tressa Grealish, which you can watch, and she shares some information that she's been tuning into, and some of the things that she's been reading about, and no doubt you've got your own sources too. But it's interesting, the idea of getting in touch, or being observed, or connecting in a new way, that there is this bridge connecting us here to an awareness or intelligence somewhere else. And that awareness or intelligence doesn't have to be in a different galaxy. It doesn't have to be in a different solar system. It doesn't have to be in space even. That intelligence or awareness could be our ancestors. It could be our future family, our as yet unborn relatives. We could be traversing time and space in all sorts of ways. So to me, this new moon is seeded with a very interesting energy. On the one hand, we've got so self-assured and comfortable that we might have forgotten the importance of life and living and how to look after ourselves in a meaningful way. On the other hand, we can tune into the wisdom of the past and the wisdom of the future throughout a different time and space continuum. And again, I realize I probably sound a bit nuts in saying that, but if you understand what I'm saying, we are absolutely each other's people for sure. So anyway, I want to move on now to touch on what's going on with asteroids and other phenomenon that is sort of playing a part with this new moon, to see if there's any extra bits of information that you might find helpful in navigating this time. So I really like this, because often when I'm looking at asteroids, I see a load of squares, you know, to the new moon or the full moon that I'm examining. But this time there's a lot of trines, exact trine energy. In fact, we've got a lovely kite when we add in Urania. So we've got the Galactic Centre, which I've mentioned a little bit already. I actually had a look at Philip Sedgwick's site, and it was talking about we spiral out around it, that it's full of infrared energy, which helps us to release all memories, all knowledge, all source codes, and that it gives us a jolt to our root, like our root chakra, and that, you know, the different parts of us are resonating with different frequencies, which again feeds back to my earlier comment about I wondered if my spooky 2 Rife machine was working on my DNA, because I could feel things going on. It feels like there is a new energy in town. I don't know if you feel it. Also in the sign of Sagittarius at 27 degrees, we've got asteroid Hekate. That's number 100. You know, the named asteroids all have some kind of reference, and you can find them on astro.com, www.astro.com. And Hekate, you know, she is almost like marking out the crossroads for us, showing us that we are in this space between one reality and another, that we need to make a decision at some point. So this is talking about liminal spaces, spaces that we can't necessarily see, but maybe spaces that we can feel into. She's also about prophecy and dreams and intuition and the magic that occurs around that. So, you know, this makes this so much more open-ended. This new moon is touching on some really deep and profound energy. Then we've got this beautiful Eros at 27 degrees in the sign of Aries. Now, you know, Eros is perfectly, you know, like Eros is really strong in the sign of Aries, because Aries is all about cut and thrust, and Eros is lusty, he's passionate, you know, he is procreative and forceful and horny. But one thing that he's also doing is connecting. So where he's putting himself, he's making connections all the time. But that lust for life, that lust to connect and transform and create with another is really, really strong. So that's another energy that I think could also be associated with this new moon. We've also got Praamzius, if I've pronounced that correctly, at 27 degrees in the sign of Leo. That's the number for it, 420356. Now, he's listed as a trans-Neptunian object and also an asteroid. But he is essentially the god of time and destiny in Lithuanian mythology. Now, I was reading up about it, Praamzius, earlier, and it said it's the creative force underlying existence itself, which to me reminds me a little bit of the idea of the Galactic Centre, that it underpins our known existence. It's, you know, it's where maybe we've come from and where we're maybe returning to. At its center, I believe it's a black hole. You know, it's of immense energy. And so we've got two of these deeply creative source code existence type energies, very much aligned with this new moon. Go figure. And then at 27 degrees in the sign of Leo, exactly in a conjunction with Praamzius, we've got asteroid Apollo. and the number is 1862. Now, Apollo is the sun god. Apollo is all about shining. He's bright. He's very much about fame and being noticed, for sure. He's got the gift of healing, and music and healing energies. I've written fame twice. I mean, that is a lot of fame then, isn't it? He's also musical. He's got tons and tons of talents. So this is, I think, really asking, how are you going to shine right now? How are you going to allow yourself to resonate with all this amazing energy that's available to you? So that's also very strong. And then we've also got goddess Urania, or the asteroid Urania, associated with the goddess, at 29 degrees in the sign of Aquarius. Now, her number is 30 on astro.com. And goddess Urania is all about seeing patterns. She studies the heavens. She understands the heavenly patterns. She's a goddess of prophecy. So she sees the great planetary connections. She's very, very curious about heavenly knowledge. So to me, that's really interesting that we've got Praamzius, we've got Urania, we've got the Galactic Centre working with this very potent new moon, all of them talking about this galactic inheritance, this heavenly knowledge, this knowledge of a creative force underlying existence itself. To me, this is really taking us back to a completely different opportunity. For those of you, if you are somebody who can tune in and use energy beautifully, this is a perfect energy to use to open yourself up. People talk about downloads. I mean, crikey, if you are able to receive downloads and are consciously aware of this is a really great time, no? And then you've got Eros, that's creative, Hekate, that's giving you these choices, and Apollo, that allows you to shine. Now, Apollo, if I'm not mistaken, also has the gift of prophecy, as does Urania, and as does Hekate. So we've got source code energy and also a whole heap of prophecy, prophetic energy. And so if we pace back just a little bit more, we've got 3i Atlas close by on the 19th. Then we've got this new moon connecting us to all of these really cosmic energies, followed by the solstice. So that's my thoughts. This is a deeply transforming time. And if you are somebody who's come into this lifetime with a really strong feeling of a mission, that you're here to shine bright, if you're here to shepherd humanity in a new direction, if you feel that's what your calling is, to me this is a really important new moon, because this is absolutely changing things. Remember, next year, I mean, we went through a heap of change this year, with Neptune and Saturn going into Aries, Uranus going into Gemini, and also Pluto really started to establish himself in the sign of Aquarius. They've Uranus, Neptune and Saturn have all come back into their previous signs. Next year they're all moving forwards, so we're going to have Pluto in Aquarius, Saturn and Neptune in Aries, Uranus in Gemini. We're also going to have Chiron going into Taurus. We'll also have Jupiter going into Leo. There's going to be a lot of fire air energy. And in fact, in July of next year, July 2026, we're going to have Pluto, Jupiter, Neptune, and Uranus all at 4 degrees in their respective signs, all making a beautiful basket shape together, and also the North Node changing into the sign of Aquarius. So we are really coming into a whole new phase where the energy is going to be really stepped up. I experienced everything kind of zipping past this year. It's been nuts. I feel like I've only just caught up now. God only knows what it's going to be like next year. I think it's going to speed up. So this particular moment in time, I think, is a moment for us to rest into the magic of it, to really get clear about what we're wanting to create and to tune into it. This could be just the energy we need to settle ourselves, to open ourselves into the invitation of cosmic initiation, so that we're really ready in our missions going forwards into 2026. So hope that's helpful for you. Have a beautiful new moon. If I can be of any help, then get in touch. I've opened up my community on School now for everybody. So if you want the extra forecast that I do most weeks or every week at the moment, there's a daily Monday to Friday forecast where I'm looking at the moons and relevant asteroids. I've also got a love forecast and career forecast for all 12 signs. There's a lot going on there. I'm also going to be teaching astrology from scratch from January. There's going to be 3 terms in 2026 and also a summer school, which I'm really excited about. So if you want to learn astrology in the sort of shape and experience of how I deliver these forecasts, then please come and join me. Be great to have you. All you need to do is go to www.school.com/feelgoodastrology. But anyway, thanks for your time. Hope you've enjoyed it, and connecting with you again real soon. Lots of love. Bye for now.